Well, right there it is. That's what we're going to be making. It is delicious. Hello. This is going to be an easy weeknight meal, all right? This is not a hard one to make. This is a simple spaghetti sauce. We're going to make a meat sauce, okay? I've got some meat here. I've got some vegetables. And I want to show you a really quick, easy way to make a homemade meat sauce for spaghetti. It's delicious and it's easy to make. It's packed with all of these wonderful nutrients and flavors. It's worth your time. This is an inexpensive meal to make. It serves a lot of people. And folks, when you see how it's done, you'll want to do it. So come over, let's look at these ingredients and see everything I have, and we're going to get busy making this. Oh, however, before we do that, let me mention, please look in my description box right under this video. I have some links there. There's a link there to my website, which is where I sell my recipes. They are really good quality stuff, all right? So before you say, oh, I'm not interested, take a look before you say you're not interested. Because it's not just a little block of print in the corner of a piece of paper. No, it's multiple pages, descriptive photographs, well-authored, very good quality type of recipes. So take a look at those. They're worth your time. Also, other merchandise there. I've got aprons and caps and other stuff. So there's my Wisio account and my Patreon. If you're interested in helping out with Texas Cooking Today, it would be very appreciated. So if you would, come on over now. Let's look at this and let's get started. Come on. So the ingredients that I have sitting out here today, all very basic stuff. I have some ground chuck right here. I just finished grinding that a little bit ago. I have one large carrot, medium onion, got some garlic, some basil, oregano, rosemary. Back here I've got a little bit of wine. This is tomato paste and some salt, olive oil, and of course our noodles, our spaghetti. So folks, as you can see, very basic stuff. This is an easy thing to prepare also. There's not a lot of cutting and chopping. It's all pretty much done with a grater. I'm busy getting my my vegetables all ready for here. Now I've gone ahead and removed some garlic from its paper, and I've got that sitting there ready. My onion, I went ahead and took off the top end of it and took off that outer paper and the outer thinner layer that was there. So I've prepped it. That's as far as I need to go on that. Now I need to just remove the outside on this, and I can get busy with the next step, which is not very much work at all. You're gonna like this. And when it comes to prepping for a dish like this, you're not needing chunks, you're needing shredded. So use a grater, okay? So, basic shredded onion and carrot. All right, first things first. Get a little flame going on under the pan there. And I always recommend at least heat it up a little bit. You don't get as much staining and problems in the bottom of a pan when you throw in meat. Also, if you're gonna sear, you really need to preheat it. The other thing is I never recommend heating the oil with your pan. Just give it some time and heat up. I'm using 1 pound of ground chuck. I did do a fresh grind on this. This is actually ground choice, so it is a really good quality beef that I'm using here. The flavor is nice on it. The tenderness, the mouth feel when it is ground is just wonderful. Something I would like to mention over here, I have a mortar and pestle out. That's going to be for my rosemary. I have a knife with a good strong back on it. I like to use that when I'm either mincing or just crushing garlic. Either way, it's handy. I've been giving this a couple of moments to heat up. Something I'd like to mention is when I'm going to be working with garlic and something like this, sometimes I'll put a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pot just like that, you know, and put some garlic. I'll just crush the garlic and I'll put it right in here, and I'll let that garlic cook, okay? I'll let it cook in that oil, and it releases its oils. And then I pull the garlic out of there. And so I've got this garlicky oil when I do it that way. Sometimes I cook that way. Other times I'll crush the garlic clove and just throw it in when I put in all of my other spices. It's kind of your choice, folks. You can do it either way. Today, what the heck? Let's have some fun. I want to just crush each of these garlic cloves that I've got over here. And I was just, mashing straight down with those with my knife. There we go. I'm going to give it just a little more oil right on top of them there. And that oil will do just fine in this sauce, so don't worry about that. There's going to be a lot more fat that gets released from the beef. So what little oil I have here is inconsequential. The flavor that we're going to get just from doing this right here, though, it's really cool. It gives you kind of a toasted garlic flavor. So do yourself that favor. All right, let's take a look at that garlic. You see here, I'm getting a little bit of browning on that. You don't want too much, okay? And this doesn't take but just a couple of minutes to extract the oils off of garlic. I'll sometimes give it a little bit of a press right before I pull it out. So do yourself a favor and keep something handy if you do that. All right, get that meat in there. Look at that beautiful meat. Now the aroma I'm getting from that meat by hitting it in that really hot pan, you get a certain flavor from beef when it's treated a certain way. And this just brings out that nice beefy, caramelized beefy flavor that I really, really love. So we're getting a nice cook going on. At this point, when I start seeing most of it turned gray, kind of grayish brown, then put in these. Now, while I keep a good high flame under this, I want to stir everything together and just let it cook for a little while. I want to get those carrots kind of tender and get that meat cooked down a bit. Don't forget to stir from time to time. Once I get this to where it's cooking up like this, I just go ahead and cover it. All right, let's take a look at what's happening here. Yes. Now I went ahead and switched to a spatula because I'm about to use it for the my tomato paste in just a little bit. This needs to cook just a little more. My carrots are still just a wee bit on the firm side. See how they kind of hold up? And I don't want that. I want them just a bit softer than that. I want the onions are a little bit harder to distinguish than they are. So I'm going to give it about another 10 minutes. So as I'm waiting for my sauce to do what it does, I need to use this little device. Now, here's the thing, if you've ever messed with rosemary, sometimes you buy rosemary and it comes as these little woody looking sticks. Those are actually rosemary leaves that are dried, folks. All right, now I'm wanting about 2 teaspoons. Well, there's 1, there's 2 right there. All right. The thing of it is, like I said, they're woody. If you've ever cooked with them, you know that they don't just soften up in a dish. It takes them a long time to soften up. So what we do is this right here. I get a better flavor release. I use less of it. And I don't have that woodiness. Now I have a beautiful processed product down here now. Much easier to work with, small pieces. It'll give me a good flavor and a lot easier in my on my palate. Okay, so do yourself that favor. Do your rosemary just that way. All right, let's take another look at this. We looked at that before. This had about another 10 minutes of cooking, and my carrots are now a little softer. Okay, so they don't hang up there just quite as much, and I don't really see my onion very well. So this is right about where I need it, okay? At this point, I go ahead and put in every bit of that tomato paste right there. And I just get that stirred right into my meat. Just work it throughout. I'm just going to now start adding liquid. So that wine, or if you don't want to use wine, just use plain water. Or if you want, you can use chicken stock if you want. Hey, that will really bump your flavor up, huh? Vegetable stock would be very nice. You've got options, okay? Now this is going to take every bit of that in and then some. So I'm going to get some water and get it ready because I'm going to need to work that water in. But at this point, I need to switch to a whisk. So I'm bringing my heat up just a little bit to a medium high again. Right there, I put in, let me see, that was 3.5 cups of liquid because I did 1.5 cups of wine and then 2 cups of water on top of that. Let's get some seasoning here. I've got some salt. I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon, maybe slightly more. That rosemary right down in there. Oregano. As with the rosemary, very pungent flavor and it goes a long ways. So I'll just put 2 teaspoons in there. Basil is a sweet herb. It has a beautiful flavor, beautiful aroma. All right. Tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. 3. So with as thick and heavy as this sauce is, if I wish to add a little more water, I can do that. And I'm going to probably need to because there's going to be what we call the boil off, okay? In other words, what steams out of here. A lot of that alcohol is going to steam out really fast. That's going to be a lot of liquid loss right there. That's because the alcohol boils at a much lower temperature than water. So the first steam I get off of this is actually going to be the alcohol. The question comes up, will all of the alcohol cook off? No, not in the amount of time you're going to be cooking this. If you cooked it long enough and kept the top, the lid tilted a little bit cocked, then eventually, yeah, every bit will cook out. However, in this case, no. I would just say very simply, no, it will not all cook out because we're doing a short cook. This is an easy weeknight meal and that's not going to happen. A little more water. So that was an additional cup of water. And that's what I'm going to cook off of it right there. This will get a little richer, darker, much more beautiful. And the flavor will explode here in just a little while. I need to be patient with this. Bring it to a boil. Once it starts to boil, I'll lower the temperature to a low temperature and let it sit and simmer. It'll need to simmer for easily 1 hour. Well, this is sort of the middle of all of it. Easy weeknight meal. What you've seen me do right here, that was not a lot of work. I shredded an onion and a carrot. I crushed some pieces of garlic. A little bit of cooking in the pot back here, some stirring. There's not been a lot of effort, not a lot of work involved here. And that was one of the reasons I chose this as an easy weeknight meal. Hey, this is a weeknight for me, okay? And I am finished with work. I'm getting on with cooking my meal for myself, and that's what this is. Now, something else I'm doing, the back pot I already have about half full of hot water. I have it on a burner with a low flame under it. And while this is simmering, that can be back there just slowly heating. It's covered, it'll do its own thing. And that way, when it comes time to cook my pasta, my water's already there and ready. And also, I don't put a high flame under this either. I just let it come up slowly with a low flame so it simmers. Now, this right here, it's doing its thing. The aroma is already starting to build. But when it breaks to a full boil, which is close to now, I will stir it once more, cover it, and then I'll let it cook. Now, again, if you're interested in cooking alcohol off quicker, Keep the lid cocked slightly like this. It'll pull that extra moisture out. It'll pull out that extra alcohol, and it'll be that much better. Okay, it just makes it thicker and richer. And that's all I have to say there, folks. Go and enjoy yourself. Enjoy an hour of relaxation. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch some YouTube videos and kick back and relax. And I'll stir this every 10 to 15 minutes. And then at the end of an hour, we're going to cook spaghetti and serve it up. It's just that simple. I wanted to stop my simmer for just a moment, only to show you this one thing. You see these little dark spots on top, and that's just oil that has come up to the top of the sauce. Sometimes you'll get a lot of that. Some people don't like it, others just don't mind it. A lot of times I just stir it in. And it is filled with flavor. However, if you don't want it, if you find it unsightly, use a spoon, or if you're doing a large pot of sauce and there's a lot of it, you can use a ladle. Gently press down right next to that and let the oil flow right into your spoon. Okay? And if you're gentle about it, you'll get mostly oil and very little sauce. And you can just go around your pot and do that whole thing like that. See? Isn't that simple? The sauce has been simmering for 1 hour. I now have water that has come up to a boil here. So I'm going to put some salt in this. Be kind of careful when you first do that, because sometimes it'll erupt a little bit. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put my pasta right down in there. Now for myself, you know, there's only a couple of us. I'm using 1 pound, which will be enough for easily 2 to 3 servings for most people. Outside of that, I would recommend using 2 pounds. Would be equivalent to the amount of sauce that you have here. Take a fork when you put your pasta in the water and just kind of pull it apart, okay? And all you're doing is just making sure that the pasta doesn't stick. And it will, you know, they'll sit there and stick to each other. And so doing this a couple of times really helps to prevent that. Now I will advise, please do not put put oil in your water. You're simply wasting cooking oil. The pasta's under the water right now. The oil will float on top of the water. When you're done boiling, then you pour off the water. Well, the oil's the first thing that gets poured off, and then there's still nothing on the pasta. So go ahead, just cook your pasta as you normally would in water, no oil. When you pour it out, we drain it off, and then the pasta I will toss with a little olive oil at that point, and it keeps it from sticking. Okay, let's take a look at this here. And, pull some of my spaghetti out. Check that. That's really good. It needs about 1 more minute. I'll give it that. Then I'll pour it through a colander and we'll hit it with a little olive oil. The quantity of everything that I started with, let's begin right here with our meat. That was 1 pound of ground chuck. I have 1.5 cups of white Zinfandel wine, a rosé or a white wine I recommend for this. The reds seem to be a bit too heavy for my taste when it comes to pasta sauces and things. On your garlic, you're going to want anywhere from 2 to 4 cloves of garlic, 1 medium onion, a large carrot. As you've seen, those get shredded. And on our basil, you can go up to about 3 to 4 tablespoons of basil. You can, if you like basil flavor, then enjoy that, okay? Now that oregano, watch out for it. No more than about 2 teaspoons there. And the same way on that rosemary, no more than about 2 teaspoons of the rosemary. I use 12 ounces of tomato paste to start with. On the olive oil, that's just enough to coat your noodles, and of course as you're starting to cook on the meat and veggies, I like to add a little there too. The salt, you're going to be adding salt to taste, but usually on a dish of this size you're talking about 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons. Let's see. All right, we'll hit it with a little olive oil. Folks, when it comes to noodles and sticking, like I mentioned, don't waste your time or your money putting any of your oil onto pasta when it's cooking. Wait till it's done. Now I just toss it a little bit. And the beautiful thing is once I put this olive oil on there, that gives it a little flavor, okay? And it's a good flavor. And then the next thing that's really cool about it is that that olive oil, even if this sets up a little bit and it gets kind of firm, you can just take your tongs, put them in there, and just jiggle them a little bit, like so. And then suddenly, noodles just break free for you, okay? So don't worry about them sticking. Little olive oil at the end of the cook. Neat thing to do. Sauce is already perfect and ready to go. I have so been looking forward to this. Get my plate here. Isn't that a hearty, beautiful, wonderful looking thing right there? I've really been looking forward to this. Right there. All right. That is an easy weeknight meal. So there you have it, folks. That's what that looks like. It's an easy weeknight meal. So I can't wait to taste it. Oh, yay. I must admit, sometimes a really, really simple meal like this is just the one thing that I love the most. Oh man. Savory meets sweet head on. Solid. It is. All of this sugary sweet from the carrot, from that onion, the cooking process, also some sweet was brought in with the tomato. Folks, very good tasting sauce. The flavors are just really banging good and you're gonna like this. So please make this. If you've got young ones, they're gonna love you for this sauce. And folks, for heaven's sakes, enjoy your evening, okay?